Hello, you guys. Hello, everyone. Um, Welcome again to another episode. We are going to have some amazing guests on. We are going to talk about things that we should be talking about. We are going to all give you our opinions. We are going to go through every panel member and we are going to get everybody's opinion. We're going to invite you guys. We always welcome your comments. We appreciate your input. And we even appreciate the challenges, right? That's what we're here for. We're here to have conversations that we need to have so that we can understand each other. We have to listen to understand, not just to respond. So I also, before I bring on my panel, I want to say thank you guys so very much for all the sympathy wishes. You guys know we had to put our dog to sleep yesterday. She developed an oral cancer literally overnight, like in one night. She hadn't been feeling good about 2-3 days, but she developed oral cancer literally overnight. We wipe her mouth regularly because she's a big dog and she drools. So she didn't have a lump there in the morning, 10 o'clock at night. She had her face was really swollen. We took her to the vet first thing the next day. And any tumors that grow quickly, they are cancerous. She was about to be 11. She's a huge dog. She's 90 pounds. So their life expectancy is between 10 and 12 years. So there is no cure for it. They can do surgery, but usually those tumors come from the roots, like the bone. So at that point, we just felt that she was already like in pain and it grew so quick. We were afraid of it metastasizing to other parts of her body that quickly. So we decided to put her to sleep. So thank you guys so much for all the warm wishes. I appreciate you guys very much. So let's welcome to the show, Chris Chaparro.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Shelly, am I good now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You still sound a little bit low, but I can hear you.
All right. Well, I'm up, so we're good. Okay. I hope everybody's doing good and look forward to tonight.
Okay, we are going to also welcome to the show.
What's up, guys?
And we are going to welcome Mr. Jerome Bell.
Peace. What's up, everybody? How you doing?
So, Chris, this was your idea. So why don't you start it off?
All right. So today we're going to be talking about success, and it came up because last week we were on a panel, and of course the hot topic right now is white privilege. Pretty much anything that has to do with white is a hot topic. And during this panel, I know somebody kept asking a question, and it was, what happens if we move on, or what happens, what makes somebody more successful? And I honestly felt like the answer was being skipped over by some people, and it wasn't just Black people, it was just people of color. Like what would help us, what makes some of us different than others? So today, the question is, let me double check it. It is, what is success? What is success? So we could all kind of give our own take on what we think being successful is, and why do some people of color, or Casey, I mean, this is all inclusive. So even if you're white, in general, why do some people succeed, and why do why some people, how do you say, why don't some people succeed? So that's kind of where I'm going with this. So we want to kick it off. We could go with what do we think is, to us, what is our definition of being successful? And we'll pass it back over to you, Chelly. What do you think?
We can't hear you, Chelly.
I'm sorry, I try to mute in between because I'm not too far from my son, even though I have headphones on. And he's playing video games right now, so he acts like a damn lunatic. So sorry about that. So what I was saying was, I think that my definition for me of success is anything you put your mind to. Setting a goal and reaching it is success for me, no matter how small or large that goal is, that end goal is for you. I believe for me that's success. Not giving up, like continuing to get where you want to get. So for me, that's success. Like you could have success in so many things, right? I am a successful, I've been successful in raising decent human beings. My children are decent human beings. They're pretty educated. They're free thinkers. They are, they're just amazing people. Like that is probably one of my most proud things, to be the mother of children who are goal oriented and to strive for what they want and not make excuses because they're Hispanic or excuses because they were born and raised in the ghetto. So for me, that's a success story for me. So that's what I think. Anything that you set your mind to and you achieve is successful, no matter how small it is. That's what I feel success is.
All right.
You heard him?
You did,
Yeah.
Rita.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I think the names are off, but we'll go down below. Charlie, what was your name again, sir?
Who, me?
Yes.
And Jerome.
Jerome?
Yeah, Jerome, yes.
All right, Jerome, what is success to you? What is being successful to you?
First of all, I'm gonna say, hey, thanks, Rita. You did spell my name right down there. To me, success comes in many different forms and success is defined by each individual, because we're all different. For me, success is creating an environment to where, my family is taken care of. Success to me is raising my 3 boys, into grown men, into successful grown men. Success to me is being married for 24 years to and me and my wife raising our family together. Success is my 27-year Navy career. I'm retired. I retired at 44. That was success for me. So success can be, I coach high school football, right, as well. And so, I tell the kids that I coach with, success is just getting up and winning the day. And everybody can be successful just by getting up, making your bed every day. Get up, make your bed every day. You always ask the kids, who make their bed every single day. And of course, kids don't, and they tell the truth. Some may lie and raise their hand, but most of them be like, you know what? Well, this is how you become successful. You get up and you do something that you win at every day. And you can win at making your bed every day. And that takes you through your day and you start your day out winning and being successful. So success, man, I mean, it's not really, for me, money it's not really successful. I'm not, I'm wealthy in ways. I'm healthy. I haven't been sick in 20 years, and so to me, that's, spells success to where I live and, well, but money is not necessarily success to me. I'm not a one of those type people where I have to be, rich to feel successful. I've done things in my life that to some people would be success. And I think just living out my dreams personally and doing like this. Success to me is doing everything I want to do when I want to do it. So, so to define it in those simplest terms, being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
I like that. Sounds good. Casey, what do you got?
Very similar to Jerome. Like he stole all my thunder, but very well said. Like success can be anything. Honestly, it's what you want to drive, where you want to drive yourself, and what you want to achieve. And all of us are different. We all have our own goals. Like very similar to Jerome, yeah, it's to raise my two boys and make sure they're successful in life. No matter what that takes, that's my number one goal. Then many other things that follow. Like I want to do other things in technology and I want to do all kinds of things, but that's not going to be the same for you, Chris or Jerome or Chelly. Your success is how you outline on what you want to achieve and how you strive to get there. Like the simplest way to put it is just that.
I agree. And I think we're all kind of on the same page. I think success is something that is defined by the person. Whereas some of us, I believe that some of us that have been successful in different areas of our lives, we understand that success isn't monetary. It's not always about the amount of money you're bringing in per month. Because like myself, 2 years ago, I mean, last year we had COVID and a lot of sports got shut down, but I coached an all-stars team for soccer. We had a fairly good season. It was my first time coaching at that level. I thought it was successful, and there was no money involved. So I do think that there are those of us that we do see success differently. But I also think the great majority of people find success in money. And that's one thing that I'm hoping that we can shape today is money's not always being successful, but also what makes some of us successful more than others. Like I said, primarily the topic was supposed to be people of color, but I'm all, we got Casey, I'm all inclusive. So this goes for you too, brother. So what makes some people successful for you as others? So we'll jump back over to Chelly. Chelly, what do you think makes some Hispanic Latinos more successful than others?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
What makes Hispanic Latinos some more successful than others?
So I think I don't even know if it's I wouldn't say that it's just for Latinos but I say being a Latina, I think that for me it's drive. I can't describe it in any other way. For myself, I was born into a single mom. We were super poor. My mom worked and I helped take care of my sister and my brother while she was working, and we kind of all pitched in and we made it work. So for me, I thought, I remember going to the grocery store, and because my mom didn't get any public assistance or anything like that, so I remember she was limited. My mom cooked every single day. We didn't eat out. We didn't have soda in our house. We didn't have, we were a Kool-Aid family. We had every flavor. We were so we didn't have extras. We never had brand name things. We got one pair of shoes, right before the school year started. So that's kind of how we grew up, and we didn't have McDonald's. We didn't have stuff like that. So I remember going to the seeing a bunch of other people, family and stuff, with brand name cereal, and I thought, oh my God, I wish I could have brand name cereal. And I know that sounds really stupid, but I'm talking about as a kid, that was my thing. I was I just wish once I could get a brand name cereal, because I had a cereal that my cousin had and it was so good, but my mom was that's too expensive. So for me, I remember as I was getting older, and I've made plenty of mistakes. I was a mom at 16. But I remember no matter what got in my way, I wasn't going to let that stop me. And I was not going to let my mistakes define me as a person. And I was my children will never have to eat I'm not saying that generic cereal is bad, because, people will come for you. I'm not saying that. But for me, I'm I don't want my kids to sit there and be you can't have something because your mother or parents didn't do what they need to do so that you can afford that, even if it's just once in a while, right? Because money does not define success. I agree with you 100%. So for me, like I said, I think it's drive. No matter what happened to me, I was going to be successful. And whatever that meant to me, like I wanted to give back to my community because I saw what people in my community were going through. And again, not all of them were innocent either, to be honest. So, but to me, I wanted to be the change I wanted to see in my community. So because I was a mom at 16 and then again at 19, I wasn't going to go to like law school because I had no one to watch my two children. And so for me, I was like, I decided to be the police or attempt to be the police, which I am. And I wound up finding something like in that, like I was still kind of in law and I was still going to be helping people. And now I could help the people in my community. So for me, that was big for me because kids from my neighborhood, you don't do that stuff. Or you're told you can't do that stuff. Or especially being a woman, you're told that you can't do that. So for me, that was like huge, being able to buy my kids things when they earn them, not when they want them, when they earn them is like amazing. So I think it's all about drive. I never wanted my children to feel the way I felt as a kid. And not that I was ungrateful to my mom because my mom sacrificed a hell of a lot for us, but because I just never wanted them to have to feel that. Like, and I thought they were going to feel things based on some of my choices. How their success rate was going to be based on a lot of choices I made for them, setting their foundation for them to grow. So for me, I would say drive.
All right, sounds good. We'll go down to Jerome. Same question. I'm gonna assume. So I'm gonna assume black man, right? Because I know we have Dominicans and Cubans. There's other Puerto Ricans. Yeah. Okay, but would it be safe to assume would you consider yourself a black man?
Absolutely.
Okay, so as a black man, how would you define success? And what makes some black, it's not saying men, but people more successful than other black people?
Well, I think, it has a lot to do with the way you're brought up. I think it has a lot to do with what your character is, and because it could be drive, it could be attitude. Attitude has a lot to do with it, especially when you get older. When you're a child and when you're coming up, you really can't do too many things about it because a lot of children, we can't help who our parents are sometimes, or we're lucky who our parents are sometimes. But as we get older and adults, especially in today's times, I hear people always talking about, well, it's because of slavery. And well, you know what? Slavery ended in the 1800s, man. So I'm tired of hearing that excuse. A lot of people are full of excuses. A lot of people are play this victimization. They want to blame other people for where their life is now in 2021. There's no excuses. There's no excuses for not getting an education. There's no excuses for not being able to do better and take care of yourself, because as an adult, you should want to strive to have a good life. And if you have children, you should want to strive to have a better life for your children. Us as parents, we tend to want our children to have better lives than we've had, and so that's the goal. But and to be honest, some people are just losers, man. Some people just have this loser mentality, and I hate to say it, but it's true. Some people are just losers. They don't want to win. They don't want to do better. So it really has a lot to do with the mindset of what you want, of what you want and who you want to be. Right. I remember my dad told me a long time ago when I was a kid, he said, you know what? He said, I really want you to do good. And I want you to be, grow and do whatever you want to do. He said, if you want to be a damn janitor, just be the best janitor out there. So just strive to be the best at whatever you do, and that always rang, in my ear. No matter what I did, I always strive to do the best. And that's what, I told my kids. My kids, I had one kid who was a valedictorian in basically in a all-white school. My kid is a doctor now. I have a kid that's a musical theater performer. I have a kid that's a HVAC technician. But the thing that they never had was the ability to use excuses for what they didn't have, or use excuses for why they couldn't do anything. There was 2 words that was never been able to be used in my house: the word can't and excuses. Absolutely not. And I think a lot of people don't do better because they use what has happened to them as an excuse. They use, their living environment, and things of that nature. So I think, people do better, or there's a difference because people tend to have a different mindset, and work ethic is a big thing. Work ethic is a huge thing in my book, as far as being able to become successful or not be a loser, basically. So.
All right. No, that sounds good. While we're going through this too, I'm writing down some notes because at the end, I'm kind of going to sum a few things up. So what's going on, Suni? We're going to jump over to Casey. Now, same question, a little different. What makes some white people more successful than other white people?
You already know the answer. It's white privilege. I'm just kidding. So, no, I love this topic. So it's good. And I don't disagree with anything Jerome or Chelly said. Like, I do believe in a lot of its passion and drive is part of it. I also do believe mindset is important. One of the things that Jerome mentioned just at the end there is work ethic. That is one thing that I do pride myself on a lot that I got from my grandfather. Is like one of the things that I learned quite a bit is if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. It was just a big deal. And that's ingrained in me. And those are things that I definitely will be passing on, but there's a few other things to add to this on why I believe some people are more successful than others. Work ethic is a key indicator in that, because you have to have that strong work ethic. You can't give up easily. The next thing I do strongly believe in is understand what you actually have, where you have control. In today's world, you have haters everywhere, right? You're going to always have haters. You can't control them. You can't let them run your lives and let them get you down. Recognize that they can't control you or control anything. You just got to keep going and only focus on what you can control. That comes from a book called The 4 Agreements, one of my favorite books I've ever read. And so that is where, if you can focus on the things that you can control and deliver on those and stick to your goals that you have set for yourself, I believe you will always be successful. To add a little bit to what Jerome said about losers lose and winners win. That is coming from Eric Thomas. I love Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker, and that is one of his biggest things. And if you look at it, the winners that carry those same characteristics that all of us has talked about fall in that category. Losers lose and winners win, because the losers focus on, why am I not good enough? Why is this? Why is that? The winners look at the losses as a pro or a reason to keep going. Like, I can do better. Losers will always just be like, I'm not good enough. And then they give up. And so that's where I do believe a lot of those, if you can take all those characteristics and put them together, you will always be successful.
All right. So starting to see some commonalities between what is being said. Sudi, you just jumped on. So can you hear us? Hey, so overall, without race being the factor in this, just in general, what do you think makes some people more successful than others?
Motivation. Are you talking about within the Black community or just in general?
No, just in general.
Motivation. Fear. A lot of people are afraid to fail, but they don't realize that failures are successes because you can go back and fix whatever you did wrong and perfect it. So I think it's a lack of motivation and a lack of self-esteem that you can actually pull it off. That would be my two things. That's all I really got on that. I think that sums it up for me, at least. I mean, I agree with what everybody here was saying. I didn't necessarily grow up with those ideals. Like, I wasn't taught that. So maybe that's why I don't have much to say on the subject. I was really just taught you work hard and you earn what you get, but never to like go beyond the norm.
All right. So, and this is kind of why I wanted to do this today, is because I often feel like if we let the media and other negative influences impact our lives, we will start to think that certain races really do have the upper hand, like with everything. Or in this case, in this situation, like, oh, all white people, they just got this head start, and that there's nothing we can do to get there. Like, there's always these negative thoughts. But really what I'm trying to drive home the fact is that we've heard from, in a sense, 3 different races, and there's a lot of commonality between what we see in general, and it has really nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with the individual. The common thing that was coming up was work, drive, sacrifice, self-education. I know I like Jerome's. Some people are just losers. Some people just that they don't either do nothing to be successful, or they just don't do nothing, period. Like your everyday pothead. They just kind of wake up, smoke weed, and that's their day. So what success are they going to get out of that? But to them, maybe that is successful. Maybe reaching, smoking 2 or 3 blunts, that might, be their accomplishment for the day. And we're nobody to judge them, but it really does come down to the individual. And that's what I wanted to bring up today, is I wanted to show the commonality between everybody, that it's not a race that defines how successful you can be. It really is the person. Just for me, from my experiences, I know growing up when I was young, money was a big thing. Like, I thought I always had this goal, like I wanted to have $1 million in the bank account, because to me, that $1 million in my bank account, in my savings account, that was success. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, man, that's not what I want. First of all, like Jerome, I thank you for your service. You said how many years in the Navy?
27.
Ooh, 27. Man, it's crazy because I was in the Army Reserves. I just got out, everybody. I just got released. I'm good. So I finished my last. Yeah, thank you. I finished my. Well, I'm heading towards the end of my contract, but over the last say 10 years, one thing that I've learned is like I'm starting to find myself, for my personally, like my success sometimes comes from other people's accomplishment and achievements. Like we'll set out to start a goal, we'll have to move something from, let's say, like one city 8 hours away. And when we reach that, and I don't know, I'm not necessarily doing the work anymore. I just kind of kick back and oversee it. But when other people reach their goals, like to me, that's success. And I think that's another commonality. Like Jerome found, his kids are successful. He feels some type of success, like he raised good kids. Casey, you're on the same thing. Charlie, same thing. Suni, we'll be there one day. Me and you, because our kids aren't quite that old yet. I mean, Casey, I don't think yours are that old yet either, but you kind of got the same mindset. So that's really what I wanted to point out was, there is a common, there is common things between us, and race shouldn't always be the topic. So it really should just be could we do, whether it's in ourselves or in our community. Charlie, anything you'd like to add to it?
I was making sure I unmuted time. So no, I think everybody pretty much hit it on the head. Like you have to want something. right? No matter where your background, no matter the color of your skin, no matter anything, because if you don't want it, you're never gonna, how are you gonna know what success really feels like? Like, how are you gonna achieve that if you don't really want, I'm sorry, you guys, my son is, I try to put these headphones, but it ain't blocking his ass out. He's Puerto Rican, he can't help it. But no, I feel that, excuse me. Like I said, I think that everybody kind of touched on it. And it's so funny because the world would have you thinking that we are so divided by the color of our skin. And everybody here, we come from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and we all basically said the same thing. Now, I know we have pretty similar views on life, and there's some things we don't necessarily completely agree on, but we all basically said the same thing. And guess what? It had nothing to do with the color of our skin. It had nothing to do, like, it has nothing to do with your being a, oh, what the hell's the term? You know, growing up in a poor neighborhood. I can't remember what the hell they call it. According to your demographics and your race and all that shit. We all just basically said pretty much similar things. And it didn't matter what skin color we are. It didn't even matter what age we are. Because we, on this panel right now, we are all very different ages. All very different ages. And I think that for me, I also want to say for Casey, because, you know, when people talk about, like, when we talk about people of color, and we talk about, like, okay, well, Suni and Jerome can speak for Black community, you and I can speak for Hispanic community. And then we're like, okay, Casey could speak for white community, but I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm just kind of, which is why I love these panels and appreciate you guys all, everybody's opinion so much, because I think that Casey's opinion does matter. Because if racism is truly a problem and white privilege is truly a thing, how do we bridge that gap if we don't talk to white people? If we don't hear their voice? So that's kind of the only thing I wanted to add.
And that's and that's a big part of this, was like trying to find that middle ground, trying to show people that, hey, look, we are very different. We do. I mean, it's obvious we are different, you know, just by looking at the screen. But there's the commonalities. Jerome, we'll go down to you. Anything else on this topic that you would like to add to it?
Yeah, I would definitely like to add that for me and to me, in my career, I've been all around the world. Okay, I've probably been around the world probably 10 times, and I've probably been to more places than people can imagine. So, and probably more places than people can name. But it's one commonality that I found between every country that I've been to, whether it's Russia, whether it's Germany, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, or wherever. We all want the same thing. We all want to be happy. We all want to be free. We all want our families to be taken care of. We all want our children to be successful. We all want shelter over our head. We all want food. We all want the same things. Now, the difference is that people want some things at a different level. Okay. And, and I'll be the first to say, I mean, and, I like Morgan Freeman's take on when he was asked by Christopher Wallace, does racism exist and how do we stop racism in America? And his response was, stop talking about it. Okay. We do not have a racism problem in America. We have a people problem in America. We have a media problem in America, to where, and we have a programming problem in America. When I mean programming, I mean mental programming in America, to where when you listen to the bullshit all day, every day, and that's all you get, then you become linguistically programmed by these words. These are trigger words: racism, white supremacy, white privilege, and now we're going to critical thinking. You have just all of this different stuff that they use to trigger people into anger, to trigger people into feeling a certain way, about a different race or about a different type of people. And it's not fact. It's not fact at all. Because some of you know, and know I ran for Congress in 2020. My district is where I ran is probably is 80%, 75 to 80% a white district. Okay. And I got 20, and this was my first time run. I got 23% of the vote in basically a minority white district. My entire team were white, Jewish, freaking Italian, Hispanic. They were everything but black. I did have black supporters and stuff. I'm not saying that, but my nucleus of my team was white people. And so if there was a race problem in America, a true race problem, when I say a race problem, I mean a true race problem, then there's no way I could have run for Congress in a majority white district. There's no way. If we had a race problem in America, there's no way that all of these black athletes would be making millions of dollars if we had a true race problem. If we had a true race problem in America, Barack Obama never would have been elected as president if we had a true race problem in America. So race and racism in these trigger words are just used to keep us divided. They're used to keep us inflamed at each other, to where we really don't understand and can't focus on what's really going on in America and who the true enemy really is. Because the true enemy are the people that's pulling the puppet strings. That's the true enemy. And you have to pull back the curtain to see the little man in the Wizard of Oz to see who the true enemy is. It's globalism. It's communism now. And I call it communism. It's way past Marxism here in the United States, but it's Marxism, but it's way more towards communism now, the way we see it in the United States. And they have to keep that division for it to work. So to me, I'll just say that people, we need to change our thinking, and we need to identify those people that's pushing the race theory, that's pushing the victimization, because there's big money in victimization. There's big money in racism. There's big money in, saying someone is white supremacist or white privilege. These race baiters and these victimization pros, they are getting rich from these theories and from pushing this propaganda, to where they don't care about black people. They don't care about white people. They care about themselves, and they care about that green. That's what they care about. So I'll stop right there for now.
All right.
Chris.
Oh, go ahead.
I want to touch really quick on something Jerome said, because before the show, I was trying to think okay, let me think some talking points about what I want to talk about. But so he started talking about if racism was a problem in 2021. And again, none of us, I don't believe any of us on this panel believe that there are not racist people out there, but a systemic problem is not what we are dealing with in 2021. And he started naming a few people, literally, Jerome, you and I are on the same page. I went up and down and I always do my notes, a list of successful Blacks and Latinos in politics alone. And a lot of these politics, I'll name one just to keep it short. AOC are pushing a narrative that Jerome already just talked about. But how did your ass get there? Why are you telling people you can't, if you are truly the party of the people, instead of telling them you can, instead of showing them how you got there or implementing something so that they can get there? People like AOC and her squad, who I believe are all minorities, except what's her face? I can't think of her name. I can't think of her name because she's really irrelevant to me, but they're all pretty much minorities. AOC is a Hispanic. Suni, what's the girl's name that I always forget with the bald head black woman?
Ayanna Presley.
I forget her name every time. I don't know why that woman's name don't stick in my head. But
Like you said, because she's irrelevant.
Period. You're right. The only reason I know AOC's name for sure is because people like message me all the time. I don't understand. You should be raising women up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, give me a woman to raise up because I see a little kid having a fit. But anyways, I just wanted to touch on that. Like, there are a list, and people, you can Google this. If we are dealing truly with a systemic problem, then we would have never had a black president. I don't care how great he was. I don't care if he would have made the Red Sea part again and the clouds open and the heavens come down. That would have not happened if we were living in a systemic problem. So I just kind of wanted to touch on like all the people because I was like on the same page. I literally made a list of them. And I'm like, make it make sense.
Yeah. And I also wanted to go back. I know, Jerome, you had brought up like the victim mentality. And I think that is a very big thing that's plaguing a lot of people. It's, to me, it's like a plague. It's just getting passed on, and more people are buying into it. And a lot of that has to do with, you said programming. I agree with you. I'll go even a little bit further. Like, it's that programming and conditioning, because it's not just what we're seeing on TV, but our kids are being programmed and conditioned to at school, on YouTube. And I agree with, like you said, the trigger. There are trigger words, and I feel like what's happening is we're becoming morally detached in some areas of our life. We're losing those, what makes us people, like our constitutional rights, our core values, whatever you want to call it. We're becoming detached from that, and we're emotionally triggered. And I think that's a big issue, because then that's why we have this, issues where some people think the only way you can be successful is if you're white, or white people have an easier time being successful. And it's just because it's what they see every day. It's being pumped into them. And that's not reality, because if we're sitting here and we're being honest, I think we have 5 successful people, and none of it has to do with the color of our skin. Casey, anything you'd like to add to this?
Not really. It's everything you guys touched on, covered everything, in my opinion.
All right. Suni, anything you'd like to add to it before I move on to the next topic?
Nope.
All right. So next thing is wealth. So we'll go around again. Do you believe that wealth, and I'm talking because you hear a lot like white people, they got a jump start in life. There's a starting line, and we're here, and white people are always over here. I don't believe that personally. I believe that wealth, for the most part, when we're talking, has a big plays a big part in why some people get a head start. How do you guys feel about that? Like, do you believe that wealth is what puts some people ahead, or do you feel like it is the color of their skin? So we'll start. We'll go with Casey this time, and then we'll work our way around.
Well, it's always nice to get a head start like that, but I honestly don't believe that's in your best interest, because you're just handed money. You didn't realize or learn the value of hard work, work ethic, what it takes to live in society, and how to survive. If you're handed a lot of money, you don't experience those things. And I do have some friends. I should take that back. I have some acquaintances that that did go up in that. They had BMWs and everything in high school. I didn't, and yeah, they had those cool things. But where are they at today? They're still not moving up the ladder in a business world. They're struggling to keep their full job themselves. And it's all because they haven't learned the life lessons that is important for you to be successful as an adult. And I believe there's a lot of value in that. Can I say that if some wealthy parents can't hand down money to their kids and have them be successful? No, that can be done properly and done to where the kids recognize what needs to be done. But when you just hand off tens of thousands or millions of dollars just to some kid, it doesn't usually get handled well, and it will be gone in an instant. And so you get a head start, but I don't think it's a way that you're going to be benefiting from it in any other way other than just materialist things, which isn't a sign of success at all.
Agree. And kind of what you're talking on, like just handing off wealth, that's not always a good thing. One thing over the last couple of years and it's something I really dove into was like generational wealth, and not necessarily money, but knowledge and life skills that I can pass on to my kids that will make them successful. Teaching them like good morals and how to have good values. So this way, if the day that I do gain monetary wealth, and let's say I do have money in the bank and I do own some houses or some property, when I want my kids to work hard for everything. And when I do pass it off, I don't want it like kind of squandered away. I want them to also have their own success, and they just kind of absorb what I leave them into what they have gained. Jerome, what do you think about wealth and what we're talking about?
I'll be honest. I would have loved for my dad to leave me $1 million, but I probably would have lost it because I wouldn't know what the hell to do with it. I feel that, as far as generational wealth, I feel that it has helped, I guess, some people, and I understand that, some wealthy families, they did get wealthy because of the free labor from slavery. Okay. And I'll just say that, and I'll leave that there because those families were few and far in between. Okay. And so when people say that, it wasn't that many families. I grew up poor. I mean, I grew up eating cornbread and buttermilk for dinner. I grew up eating mayonnaise sandwiches, tomato sandwiches, whatever, we could get. But what I saw, fortunately that, my mom and dad both are in the house. And what I saw was my dad bust his ass and work his ass off to move us out of the ghetto and able to afford us a house in the suburbs to where he actually bought some land in Alabama to where, it's inherited now. I own that now. My family owns that now. My sisters own that, so as far as wealth, I think wealth and in the concept of land is better than money. Because you can lose money very quickly. It's harder to lose land. You can always build on the land. You can always have somewhere to go back. I mean, so it just depends on really who the person is, And I mean, like I said, it was some things that I had to learn growing up because my father and mother didn't know anything about the stock market. They didn't know anything about mutual funds. They didn't know anything about investing or anything like that. So, I had to I taught myself all of these, different things the way I try to pass on down to my kids. So I think as far as wealth is passing on your life lessons down to your kids so they won't make the same mistakes that you made, even though we all still do. For some reason, we do make some of the mistakes because we're just human. But I think, wealth is passing on the generational knowledge of your growing up and what to do and maybe what not to do. And if there's some some personal property involved in it. Yes, but I would never, even if I had $1 million, I would never pass $1 million on to my kids until I knew that they were able to handle it, until I knew that you were mature enough to not blow it. You know what I mean? So I think money going to people that's not ready for it is not good, because you see people all the time win the lottery, then they're broke in 2 years, because they don't know what to do with the money. So wealth to me is passing on the knowledge, and if there's some tangibles that can go along with that, I'm all fine with that. I'm not hating on anybody that parents left them $1 million or parents left them, whatever. Good for them, because if I can do it, I'm going to do it for my kids too, to a point to where I know that they can handle it.
Sounds good. I agree with you. And you brought up something. You brought up the stock market, and I go back to kind of what Charlie said. Like, there's certain things that should make people question that if America was really racist, then how can certain things happen? Or if it was really holding people of color back, then there would be certain things that wouldn't be allowed, like participating in the stock market, making investments. And I tell you, I have a group, and we're all different races, we're all different colors, and I have a group that I work with, and we all talk about stocks and what's coming up. And we make sometimes decent money. And it has nothing to do with the color of our skin, because one, it's online and they can't see the color of your skin. And two, we're all afforded the same opportunity. So I agree. I'm glad you brought that up, because the stock market is a big thing. It doesn't discriminate, because if you don't know what you're doing, white, black, brown, red, yellow, whatever color, or however you want to identify, you don't know what you're doing, you're probably going to lose money. Suni, wealth and race. Do
I think they go hand in hand?
No. Do you think that wealth gives you the upper hand? Does wealth give you the head start, or does race give you the head start? Or what are your thoughts on it?
So wealth can give you a head start. Absolutely. There is a such thing called economic privilege. Not everybody has it, but there are some people that do have it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think when you work hard, you should get the things that you worked hard for. Like, if you work your ass off and you can afford that quality stuff, I'm not talking about Gucci. I'm talking about just like a great education for your kid, and you can afford to go splurge like that. Or you can give your kid that great life that they don't have to worry about anything. I think that's okay. I don't think that that's necessarily the case with Black folks, because we're not taught financial literacy at all. So I can't see generational wealth coming to most Black families, because they don't have financial literacy. And that's important to any generational wealth. You got to manage that money for generations. And we don't know how to do that. I can say that personally. My mother doesn't even own anything, and she's over 50 now. So her period for being able to go do anything or maybe create generational wealth is gone. You have to start early. So financial literacy is generational wealth. They go together.
I think you made a couple good points. I like the economic privilege. I don't think I've heard that term. I mean, there's so many terms that fly around nowadays. Economic privilege. And I think that's kind of what like Jerome was talking about. Like, if you could give your kids $1 million, you necessarily wouldn't do it. But if they were responsible and you could pass that on, then you would. And that kind of fits into your economic privilege. Like, if you had the opportunity to put them in a good college, and that might be a part of that $1 million, well, hey, you're going to do it. Again, doesn't really have anything to do with race. It has, kind of has everything to do with wealth. Charlie, we'll end this with you. So what do you think? Does wealth put you ahead? Race? Neither? What's your thoughts on it?
So I kind of think, like, when we're talking about it versus like white people, Black people, Latino people, etc. I think that what people don't see, and they hear like this number, like, hey, you know, white people are white privileged, and they have a better like foot forward, so to speak, because simply of they're white. But if you look at the percentages, we know that white people make up 70% of the population, more or less, right? I think it may have changed a little bit, but more or less 70% of the population. If you look at the millionaires in the world, 76% of those happen to be white. So now we have to start subtracting, okay? And that's what I think people don't do. It's simple math. It's not a rocket science. So 70% of our population, and then only 76% of those are wealthy, okay? And now, mind you, that's the 76% of millionaires is worldwide, not just in the United States. So that's a little bit lower even then, okay? So now you take away from that, right? And now you have to remember that with, even if you took, not every white person is born that is rich. Like there are, I mean, how many times have we all heard it? And I'm not saying this to be racist, but how many times have you seen, like, I know when my kids were growing up, there was a little girl, she was homeless. She happened to be white, and they lived in a Hispanic neighborhood, or we were Hispanic and Black, but she was a little white girl, and they were dirt ass poor. Like they had no clothes. They literally had nothing. So I'm like, now if you subtract that like population that is poor as well, right? Like you have to start doing like simple math, and you break it down to see where Hispanics fall, because Hispanics actually, well, let's start with Blacks. Blacks are like 13.4% of the population. So 8% of the millionaires are Black Americans. Now, again, you do have to take a little bit away because that's worldwide, right? That's amount. Compared, you know what I mean? That's a big amount. For Hispanics, they're 16.77% of the population, and only 7% of them are super wealthy. So I don't necessarily, there are people, I can't remember the term Suni used, economic privilege. So do I think that if you have money, whatever, and I want to touch on what Jerome said too, like we know that some people way back when made money. I think you said they made money basically because of slavery. But remember, white people were not the only slave owners. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that. So again, without being complicated, because I'm complicating myself now. But when we start like deducting in those numbers, and that's what people don't do. You know, now remember, just because you're white and you're so-called privileged or have economic, whatever Suni said, privilege, you got to remember, like, just because you have money, that doesn't mean you have a perfect life. How many of those kids suffer from anxiety? How many of those kids suffer from depression? How many of those privileged children or economically privileged children were raised with a babysitter and have mommy and daddy issues, just like Hispanics and Blacks, etc.? Like that doesn't take away, money does not take away anxiety, depression, mommy, daddy issues. You know what I mean? Just because you're wealthy, yeah, you're never going to have to worry about where you got to sleep, right? But it's not going to take away the issues that run the world, that every other race deal with. And I think like the more that people continue to push this narrative where that us as Blacks or Latinos or minorities in general are oppressed, or we are not given the same equalities, well, then maybe you should start asking our parents, why not? And asking our ancestors, why are we not in a better place? Like, I think that a lot of things are, there was a time, I mean, we're not taking away from times where they were being oppressed, but in 2021, I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I grew up in a really poor neighborhood, and I'm pretty successful. My husband and I make a good amount of money together. And I mean, we're not rich by any means, but if I want to send my son to a college, I can afford to send my son to college. So, and again, this is a poor girl from the middle of the ghetto who had a baby at 16 and another baby at 19. So if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it. You just have to want it. So I don't think necessarily wealth, because along with wealth comes other problems. You know, like I said, it doesn't take away from people who, you know, they send their kids to boarding school. They don't see their kids have mommy daddy issues. I mean, how many times, and I'm just going to say this for myself, like when I was a kid, every time there was like a person that we knew who was like, I went to a high school far away because I was intelligent. So I got an opportunity based on my skills to go to a better college. And I went with a lot of white people, and some of them had a lot of money. But a lot of them also had damn drug problems that even me from the ghetto, like my mom kept us away from all that stuff. So they had like these, because they had all this excess money to get drugs and all the stuff that, you know, I could not afford. So I think people tend to.
All right. So what we're gonna do, we'll end with some final thoughts. So on the final, you know, for your final thoughts, we'll start with Casey. Let's leave, because often when we have these panels, I feel like, you know, we have some really good conversation, and I'm hoping that, you know, like today we were able to show people that there is a middle ground, and we do have a lot of commonalities, but I don't want to leave on a negative or just kind of end it with like it was a discussion. So today I'd like to try to end it on a positive note. So if you have something positive, and it's not race at all, it's just for people in general that are struggling, that you think that you can give them, you know, so they can push forward and, you know, find some type of success or motivation to want to do better. So go ahead, Casey.
My biggest thing is believe in yourself. Like, you can achieve anything. You really can. I know that's kind of something that's always thrown out. We're always told our whole life, you can always achieve anything. You can be an astronaut if you want to, type of thing, right? But you seriously can. The part that we get into our mind, we get into ourselves, and we start convincing ourselves it's out of our league. It's not. You can get it. You can go for it. Just make sure that you apply yourself, and it's a goal that you want to achieve, and push for it, and you will get there. Just drive for it.
All right. Jerome, what do you got, Jerome?
Yeah, I just say this. I remember reading this book by Napoleon Hill's called Think Big and Grow Rich. And in there, there's a passage in the book saying that you are what you think about. Okay, so you can do anything you want to if you put your mind to it. My dad used to tell me that all the time. You can do anything you want to if you just put your mind to it. Just put your mind to it. So I'll say, just on a positive note, just everybody just go out and try to win the day. You know, don't try to win the week. Don't try to win the month. Just win the day. And if you have problems getting up in the morning to winning the day, start with making your bed, because I know everybody don't make their damn bed. But get up, make your bed.
I definitely don't make my bed, but that's because I leave earlier than everybody else and somebody's still sleeping. So she makes the bed. But if I did have the opportunity to, I probably still wouldn't, because it's just not my thing. Because I don't make it right.
You're welcome.
But no. So we're moving on. Suni, something positive you want to leave with everybody today.
Dang, it sounds like an asshole statement, but it's positive.
Go ahead. I would expect nothing less from you, Suni.
Get over yourself. Get over yourself. We're all going through things. We're all struggling through something. Get over yourself. Once you can get over yourself, you can accomplish anything. That was one thing that my dad stressed with me. He told me never to say can't. Don't ever say can't. And anything you want in this world, I'm not going to give it to you. You got to earn it. And everybody knows the family I came from. I used to feel like I should have a silver spoon in my mouth, and like, why do I got to be over here with a single mom and my dad's family is wealthy? But he didn't owe me anything. They didn't owe me crap. So get over yourself and apply yourself.
And it might come off harsh to some, but you know what? Some people need that tough love. So, I mean, and it's just like my kids. I have 4. They're all very different. One of them sensitive, one of them not so much. Sometimes you need to tell them, hey, I'll tell you right now, like, I don't know if you guys heard my story about my son breaking his arm, my oldest, but he was laying on the floor with cars passing by. And I stopped and I told him, hey, get up. Your feet work? Does your other hand work? Drag yourself off to the street, off the street, get on the sidewalk. And this dude was like, hey, man, that's somebody's kid. I'm like, yeah, it's my kid. And he's an idiot for laying in the street when people could run him over. Like, sometimes they need tough love. So, no, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, because that day, like, it proved something to him, like, hey, you can't just lay there. Like, yeah, you're hurt, but you can't just lay there. You got to get over the broken arm. You got to get over yourself, and you got to pick yourself up and move on. So, no, I think that was good. Shelly, what do you got, Shelly?
I would say, like, I agree with what everybody says. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to any of this. And I think that if you really want something, like, apply yourself, period. Stop making excuses. And it is okay to fall. I cannot tell you how many times throughout my life I have fallen. But get back up. It's not how many times you fall, it's how you get up. Like, there are going to be naysayers. We live in a very critical and harsh world. And unfortunately, people don't want to hear that, but it is God honest truth. Mm-hmm. And no one is going to give you anything. No one is going to hand you anything. So I would say you are your worst enemy, but you are also your biggest advocate. Fight for what you want. And it's okay to fall. Somebody was talking about, like, setting goals. Set small goals. And then once you reach that small goal, set another small goal. But don't stop because something throws a monkey wrench in your program. Like, I cannot even count how many times I'm like, wow, I'm finally, like, on a good place. And when I'm finally feeling that, like, boom, monkey wrench. And I'm like, fuck. But at the end of the day, if you want better, look at yourself in the mirror and dig deep. Dig deep. You can do it. Everybody has done it. It is okay to fall. It is okay to fail. I don't think anybody, I think you enjoy success so much more when you earn that shit.
Facts. Facts.
Agree. And for me, I think, I'm big on self-education, because you guys are right. Nobody owes us anything. And so therefore, like, I buy a whole bunch of books. And I think that's something that we've all probably have done, is we've read or we've self-educated. To me, that's key. You have to teach yourself. And then at the end of the day, like, outside of, like, okay, you got to have some dedication to what you're doing, but personal accountability and personal responsibility is lacking in so many people nowadays. Nobody wants to be responsible for anything. They just want to play the victim, and they want to push it off on somebody else. So start taking some accountability and responsibility for your actions. And I understand that there's reasons that you might not be able to do something, but understand the difference between a reason and an excuse. Like, excuses are just being lazy. Like Jerome said, like, not getting up and making your bed because you were in a rush where you should have got up earlier. Casey, I think you said it might have been like the 15 minutes, you got to be to work 15 minutes early. Like, hey, maybe you got to get up 15 minutes earlier. Don't make the excuse, but sometimes people have valid reasons. But if I can leave anything, to me, the most important thing is, with everything going on, love and forgiveness. If you have hate in your heart, or if you, and I'm talking specifically for people right now, like, if you feel like you hate white people because something that their family might not have done, forgive them. Forgive them. Because if you don't forgive, you're going to hold on to that grudge and that hate, and you're never going to heal. If you feel like you're broken and you're not healing, like, then forgive them. Forgive them so you can heal, so you can move on, so you can start being positive and hopefully be successful in your life. That's all we have for tonight. I appreciate everybody for showing up. share the page. Just us on YouTube, right? Just us on YouTube.
Just us
Like,
on YouTube.
share. We appreciate everybody's support and for showing up. And have a good night.
Thank y'all. Peace. See y'all next time.